Hey everybody, welcome back to the Curlin Community Connection. It's 5 o'clock live on Friday. So fun Friday. Here we have a great guest, somebody I know personally actually. He hails from Minnesota where he spent some time, 4 years over at the University of Minnesota as a gopher, studying urban studies it was. He came out to Scottsdale here in 1985. Actually was the city manager for many years and served as the chief of staff for the legendary Scottsdale Mayor Herb Drinkwater, who's right over his left shoulder, right? Our right, your left. Please welcome John Little. Hey, John, how you doing?
Fantastic. How are you today, Eric?
Never better. Fridays are always good, but I tell you what, Friday seems just like Wednesday, which seems just like Monday. It's like Groundhog's Day. First of all,
I'll be Bill Murray then today.
yeah. First of all, I do want to say that your wife, Lori, is a nurse, and so thank you. Express my appreciation to her for being on the front line. All the people that are out there during this trying time do appreciate her service. So share that.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, you got lots of accolades, tons of stuff. Founding chairman of the board for NOAA. You were a board member for the Miracle League of Arizona. You were part of the Scottsdale Charros. You were actually voted Citizen of the Year by the 9,000 member Scottsdale Area Association of Realtors.
Yes, I was.
Were you ever the sexiest man alive on Time or whatever that magazine was?
No, I don't think so. I didn't make that. I didn't even make the cutoff list, so I wasn't a finalist at all.
Really? Okay.
No, it wasn't.
All right. Before we start kidding around, let's get serious for a moment. John Little is not here to endorse my candidacy. I'm not here to endorse John Little's candidacy. What we are here is to share information with the viewers so that they can make an informed decision when they vote. We expect you to vote. We expect you to vote as an informed citizen. I will ask John simply similar questions as I've asked all the other council candidates, but it's a conversation that goes ebbs and flows in different directions. And so John is not going to attack any of his opponents because they're not here to defend himself. He's here to say what he's going to do for Scottsdale. So if you have a question for John, please put it in the feed for the Facebook Live. Start it with a question mark so Andy Gomez, our campaign manager here, finds it easy enough to pull out. If you have a funny little comment, you can add that too, and maybe she'll put it in the feed. So without further ado, there is no crying if you do not get the question you like. And so let's just get started, okay? First of all, John, if you want to learn more about John Littlefield, John Little.
Now, here's a Freudian slip for you. Come on.
Yeah, John Little. You go to his website at johnlittlescottsdale2020.com. I went to the website and I was pretty impressed, I have to say. And what impressed me most is when I looked at what you proposed to do, your different issues, the number one issue you had up there was a thing called Scottsdale's Healthy City Initiative. And it started off with a question, how much is your health worth? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, John? What's that all about?
Well, our health is priceless. It's a cliche, but if we don't have our health, we don't have anything. And I began thinking about this probably about 2 months ago as it looked like we were going to be really damaged financially and economically from the pandemic. You could see our tourism literally folding up like a tent, and businesses closing. And much of the conversation at that time started out by wanting to discuss how are we going to get through this? How are we going to get past this? How are we going to reposition our community so that when people do travel again, they'll think of Scottsdale? And I was thinking that, I know that my wife, as you mentioned, works at Honor Health, and she's, been part of their COVID response team. But what we were thinking about is when people start talking about when they're going to travel again, people want to go someplace where it's safe and it's secure and it's clean and it's healthy. And I began thinking about the healthiest places top of mind that I would go. And I couldn't think of any right offhand. And I thought perhaps there are people in Chicago and New York and some of the other COVID hotspots that when they travel again top of mind. They'll want to go someplace where they know that people are paying attention and doing healthy things. And I thought, well, that just doesn't happen. You have to make it happen. And so I came up with this Healthy City initiative, which in my mind deals with the food we eat, the environment that we live in, the lifestyles that we live, and healthy living habits. And I'd like to be the city that has the lowest heart disease. I'd like to be the city that has the lowest amount of diabetes or obesity. I'd like to be the city that shows the greatest improvement in treating melanoma and is a research center for health and has the most restaurants, health food restaurants per capita, and all the things that make up a healthy, vital city. And that's where I came up with it, because I think it's part of our economic recovery here. That when people want to travel again, they want to come someplace safe. And I want Scottsdale to be that place.
Okay, serious question, John. You're not coming from my pork belly, are you?
You know, I might come right after that.
God, that really hurts. Hey, let's backtrack a little bit and tell me what makes you the candidate to elect for one of these Scottsdale City Council seats.
Well, you know, I'm no, forgive the pun, Johnny come lately. I've been here since 1985. I came to the city, and it's a story that, you know, I could tell that we don't have enough time for, but the minute I laid eyes on the Civic Center Plaza, the very first day I came here looking for a job, I decided that I wanted to work for the city of Scottsdale. You know, I'm a Kennedy kid. It was always, you know, what can you do for your country versus what your country can do for you. I set out early in my career to be a public servant, to work in the public sector. And so when I came out here in 1985, I was fortunate enough to get an entry-level job at the city of Scottsdale, and I worked all the way through 2,000 plus employees there and became city manager after 20 years. I know this city. My heart's in this city. I live and breathe this city. This city's future is in my DNA, and so is community service. And so this is an extension of the 20 years I spent with the city, but even before that, the 15 years that I spent in the public service in Minneapolis. I just need to give back. When I was in school, before I left the university, my contemporaries were not going into the business school. My contemporaries were going into the Peace Corps. They were volunteering to serve in Vietnam. They were being community organizers. They were doing things to benefit their community, and that's just who I am, Eric. That's part of. I'll always be doing that, forever.
Win, lose, or draw, you're going to be around.
I'm going to be around.
Fantastic. Hey, we got a couple of questions. I'm going to paraphrase Alex's question because it kind of deals with students. We're going to get to education in a moment.
Right.
But it does deal with COVID, masks, restricting Old Town bars, that kind of stuff. So you started off talking about the Healthy Initiative. We now see Arizona as a whole gone down the tubes. Basically, we're #1 in the most spikes in COVID. And I remember the time right around Memorial Day where us as Scottsdale had like this grand opening to the bars. And now we see, like, just 2 weeks later, this big spike. It happened around. What could you do if you were part of the council? Or what can you do in the future if something like this happens? How do you keep the community safe? How do you take leadership?
Well, I think that was the key word. Your very last word there was about leadership. And I think that our leaders need to lead by example. You know, when the president of our country doesn't wear a mask to go to the VA hospital on a visit to a COVID clinic or COVID department, you know, it doesn't say what we need to be doing. And I think that the leadership in our city, we need to be on the same page. It's one of those issues that can't be a 4-3 vote. It has to be a unified city council that has recommendations to its business people. You'd be sitting down talking to the people in the entertainment district and the resorts and saying, let's really work together to design a consistent strategy that we can employ to make sure that we're sending the right messages and that we're working together to combat this terrible beast that we now see rearing its ugly head again. We opened too early, in my opinion. And the problem is that leadership, even local leadership here, with a unified voice, did not say time out where it looks like we're opening too early. So I believe very strongly in local control, and I think it's something that we could have taken a much stronger leadership role in.
So you just mentioned one of my sweet spots where I perk up there. I have a little bit of ADD, so I kind of lapse there. But I heard local control, so let me latch onto that, like grabbing onto the two handlebars of that mustache. So local control, we have people, so I'm running for the state house, right? District 23 legislature. We have people who say, I support local control. It's all about local control.
Yeah.
And I'll just say that I don't believe that to be the case. Tell me, John, in 2016, our legislative brain trust said no local control whatsoever on Airbnb and vacation rentals. Took that away from every city and town. Mm-hmm. Then you have Scottsdale, which is much different from Safford, which is much different from, Tucson, whatever. But they're all different, and we have some issues with the homes being rented out, whether it's party houses, whether it's people buying up all the houses so that the prices of real estate is going way up, outpacing families. What would you do if you had the opportunity? What would you maybe propose if I could actually recoil and pull that bill back and repeal it? How would you see to handling the vacation rentals here in Scottsdale?
Well, first of all, I'm a strong advocate for private property rights, that people ought to be able to do what they want with their private property to the extent that it doesn't impact in a negative way their neighbors or the property values of adjoining properties or detract from our overall quality of life. And so we've had some real problems with, party houses that, were through Airbnb. Once again, it's a leadership issue at the local level where, we should be sitting down with Airbnb and saying, where are these locations specifically? What kind of local ordinances can we pass? What kind of freedom do we have to restrict operations at the ones that are problematic? Not all Airbnbs are a problem. Some of them operate just fine. And I know a lot of families that depend on income from Airbnbs to pay their bills and send their kids to school. But we do have a problem with some, and I do like the city of Scottsdale's approach in being able to identify a contact person 24/7 that must pick up the phone. If a phone call comes from the police department, somebody better be on the other line or there's a significant fine involved. So local controls are, like you said, Scottsdale is not Safford. We have a lot of Airbnbs here, and it's a significant source of business and revenue for Scottsdale families. So give us control. Let the legislature should let local government come up with its own solutions, work with the people to solve the issues rather than use a broad brush and try to legislate some solution at the state level that may not have application here or may even have a really detrimental effect. Local control is always one of those things that it's a sort of a trickle down. The federal government gives unfunded mandates to the state, and the state turns around and gives unfunded mandates to the cities, and everything flows downstream.
Welcome back, John.
Local control is good, my friend.
All right, man.
Stay out of our business, okay?
Yeah, it's funny. I've said this before. We have a legislature that says that basically making laws is like Goldilocks, right? The federal government is just too big. The local government is just too small. But those sons of guns are just right. It's funny. Hey, so we're talking with John Little, one of the city council candidates, one of 9. He is coming to us on a Friday, so we're going to have a little fun later. But if you have questions, put them into the chat. We got a lot of questions. I'm going to get into them right now. We got one of the people running for school board, Rose Smith. She is very knowledgeable about SUSD, and I think we're going to transition to this because, quite frankly, there's talk about adding a component of education into the general plan, and really that's all yours. Everybody else is latching on, which is fine. I mean, there are going to be other people elected, and we want education to be part of the city and the vertical articulation with the state. But Rose asked a really good question.
Right.
So you've been around for a while, and you remember when Joe Arpaio brought the dogs into the schools, and we had this whole thing with this scam about heroin. It was really nothing, but he was always getting the media attention. What good came out of that was we had about $250,000 as a school district that came from the city of Scottsdale. And that was used for reducing bullying, racial injustice, drug prevention, all these things. And then later on, it was a lot of that money was used with counselors coming on campus, especially our elementary campuses, and having groups where they were helping these kids who were having trouble assimilating and, just real strong emotional and social issues.
Sure.
And it was a wonderful time. But then, of course, the economy turned bad. The money went out the window. Do you see any kind of coming back to that, bringing some money from the city of Scottsdale to perhaps buffer up some of our little areas that we need some help?
No, I think we need a lot of help in a lot of areas, and some of them aren't so little. I think we see right now a national conversation about reallocating resources from public safety in some cases to the kind of programs in the schools that you're talking about. That is probably funding that we had given to the Scottsdale Unified School District before that should probably be reinstated. I think some of the money that our school district received, I mean, all of it was really put to really good use. And all of us know, even if we don't know directly, we know intuitively that early investment in early education, investment in kids' health and well-being, these are things that pay dividends over time. They don't cost money, they save money. And so I'll be very aggressive in looking for ways that we can reconstitute some of those programs and some of those dollars spent. I'd like to see us invest more in that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying about investment, right? People look at it. There's a thing. I graduated with a finance degree, and there's a thing that talks about the time value of money. And just quite simply, $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. But in this kind of environment where we're kind of run by one party for the last 25 plus years, they tend to look at $1 today as only something we can spend today for today, and not looking how the time value actually of investments saves us money down the road. They're very short-sighted with that. So I love the term investment because that's what it really is. It does pay dividends off down the road. We are a community here in Scottsdale. This is not a 1 year and then we want people to move. We want them to start here. They want them to learn here. We want them to work here. We want them to play here. We want them to retire here and start the cycle all over again. I plan on being in the big house over there. What do you need from me, John? How would you work with me at the level of state to help you in the city?
I think that, one of the things that you sort of alluded to right now is the fact that what you described is really a problem that evolves from putting self-interest in front of community interest. Self-interest is today. Self-interest is what can I get today? Cut my taxes today. Don't raise my taxes today. What can you do for me today? What kind of services are you buying today? When we talk investment is more about community interest, not self-interest, community interest, because community interest is what kind of legacy will we leave here for the next generation? What can we do today that'll have an impact in the next generation, 20, 30, 40 years from now? But we are so consumed in this environment with, social media. I know it's a cliche, but we are so now oriented that we have a really hard time as a culture looking forward 20, 30, 40 years. We're really not too good at that. So Eric, what I need from you is to not only focus on the issues today and the things that are causing us pain or difficulty today, in spite of how hard those things are, help us keep focused on the future. That would be the biggest thing you could do, I think.
Yeah, they have this wonderful program down in Tucson. For everybody out there, I'm from ASU, so I have a spot in Tucson, but I've come to love Tucson as much as I can. And in the Tucson downtown, they got this thing, this TIF, it's called TIF, where they take the taxes above a certain area and it has to be reinvested in that community,
Yeah,
right?
tax increment financing. Yeah.
Yeah, so they have the base level. Whatever goes above the base level, it goes back in, and then the base gets higher. You know, it's just a beautiful thing. It's this cycle. We have to be working in concentric circles because everything ties together, except for that mustache, which kind of goes off into different directions.
No, it is the interrelatedness of things. It's the interrelatedness of the things that we deal with on a daily basis. Earlier, you asked me about my Healthy Cities initiative. One of the key components of that is living in a healthy environment and a community that is sustainable, that's doing the right things. And one of the things I'm really excited about, I think through this entire campaign, if I could be wrong, but I haven't heard a single person breathe a single thing about this large neighbor that we have living to our east, the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. I would love to see us engage in a partnership with them to perhaps create solar farms over there to address the issue of clean living and using renewable energy as part of our Healthy City initiative. I think it would be a tremendous thing for us to begin to invest long-term and in the future in solar energy. There's no reason why we shouldn't be the epicenter for solar research, research on how to store energy, how to transmit it, and how to open up that so that we get away from the big energy providers as the only ones that are providing us energy to homeowners and small business people who could actually put energy back into the grid. These are all parts of living in a healthy community. And it's also future. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but work can begin today.
Yeah, and these are like some really bright ideas, and I'm really vibing off this, John. I'm loving this back and forth. So, what if Scottsdale and other communities around the loop would kind of band together and have these charging stations for electric cars?
Yeah.
And so you have the incentive to become the clean energy kind of living of the valley, because right now in the valley we get that bubble. We have to do something different. We have to look at tomorrow and say, do we want our kids to be choking on this air? We have, with the pandemic, a little kickstart to see how clean the environment can be, right? You know, we've got this little Kickstarter kit. So perhaps people that are farming right now would go to the solar farming, and then they can go and have, we can have a manufacturing plant actually down in Casa Grande making these electric cars, but people who buy them with licenses from Arizona, who reside in Arizona, perhaps they get a break on buying these. And perhaps we give cities a break for building these charging stations. I just think there's many opportunities. If we look at issues and say we have an interest in this as an issue, what are our shared interests? Focus, people.
Our shared interests. I mean, this is exciting for me too, Eric, because these are how ideas get developed. And then I say, Eric, and who can you bring to the table? You know, do we bring the Green Chamber of Commerce to the table? Do we bring the ASU sustainability?
Yes, we do, John. Yes, we do. At the state level, we get some money over the ASU for innovation.
And Scottsdale Community College has a sustainability program, and there's private businesses here that are involved in it. Getting people to the table and then doing what you and I just kind of did here, coming up with ideas about charging stations all over the valley and expanding our interest in this. That's what's exciting. I'm sorry, I'm going to be the first one to say, if you just want to elect me to be a super planning commissioner or a zoning person, I'm not your guy. I'm really not. That's not what I'm about. I want to serve on the council because I want to fly at 30,000 feet. I want to address some of these larger issues about how we brand ourselves and how we're going to live in this place in the future. So anyway, that's what I'm doing here, bud.
Oh man, I love it. Hey, if you want more information on this, man, you go to johnlittlescottsdale2020.com, right? Is that it? Did I get it right?
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey, so this guy writes in my feed today, you were talking about social media. Jay Lawrence, my opponent, wrote something very, very poor. Basically, he said, this is what, it started off with, this is what I did last session. There's no I in this team, right? There's no I in legislating, but whatever. And then he started listing 3 different things that he was kind of forced to do anyway, right? But one of the guys in the feed all the way down just happened today. I just responded to him. He says, yeah, but you have my vote, but if you're going to be like the rest of them, how do I know you're not going to just kind of go to special interest and be bought or something to that effect? And I said, well, first of all, son, I am priceless. Oh, but I said, I'm not running to get reelected. I'm running to get shit done. I mean, this is the greatest time of our lives, right? We have had our careers. We are civil servants. We want to put, I mean, we're public servants. We're putting the public and the service together. And we're going to create something awesome. So, yeah. Hey, all right, we have to get to that education thing. Tell me about your education plan, because, you know, I'm a teacher for 25 years. I hate when people say throw money at the problem. Not that the throw money part, because they never have done that here in Arizona. The problem part, because education's never the problem. It's always the solution. So tell me about what you got for education, my man.
Yeah, don't throw money before you throw your ideas. Let's have the ideas out, and then we'll see what kind of money is needed. But let me tell you, that was over a year ago. I wrote an article. Well, first of all the bond M&O overrides I've always voted for, and I've written letters to the editor about all of those, about the importance of education. But it was over a year ago when I finally said, you know what, part of the problem is this disconnect between the performance of our schools and the performance of our city, and how they're entwined inexorably. They're tandem, they're relational, they have to work together. And looking at the city's general plan, which is an aspirational document that describes how we want our city to look, behave, and perform, and have metrics, I thought, why is transportation more important than education? Why is housing more important than education? Why is anything more important than education? I couldn't come up with anything. So I said, why not? Understanding, of course, some people say, well, the school is different than the city. True, they're both different political subdivisions, but our futures are together. So if the general plan's an inexorable, it's a document, it's aspirational, and if it's supposed to describe what our community looks like, then education's got to be part of it. So I went and I researched all over the country and finally found a city, Plano, Texas, that actually has an education element in their general plan. And I thought, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Not the wording, because every city's different, but the idea that education is core to our future needs to be in our plan. So I wrote an extensive proposal about that, and I'm so happy. I don't need ownership of it. I was so happy to hear other candidates say, yeah, let's do this. This is good. Let's all do it. So, and people will improve on that and they'll build on it. And I'm so excited about that. It's one of the most important initiatives I think that as a city and as a school district we can do, and so many good partners too. I got to tell you, we've got some Scottsdale Unified School District board candidates that are totally on board and ready to go to work on this, and some people currently on the board I think that are really excited about it. So let's go, let's do it.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I would ask anybody out there that does not have a child in the school system just to think about your home. What would it be like if you were living in your home and people are saying, that school system isn't so good? Think about your property values, think about your way of life. But now put together the fact that you have a child in the system. How good do you want it to be? That ties into people wanting to move here, your home values going up, people then starting to do that cycle again of work, live, play, retire.
And I know it's kind of a de minimis thing to say with such a big picture thing, but you know, the National Association of Realtors has done a lot of studies that show the close, I mean, almost the exact correlation, the nexus between property values and educational performance in a community. Those two things go hand in hand. So, you know, if we aren't ready to invest in education, watch your property values go down. And when those go down, watch your property taxes go up. It's a simple equation. We all ought to be able to understand that.
Okay, my gal Alex, she lives in South Scottsdale.
Right?
She asked the question, what can we do to get the South Scottsdale parks and public spaces on par with the North Scottsdale? We do have a bit of a division amongst people and amongst thoughts. I don't know if it's true, whether we have a difference in parks, but what do you think, John?
Well, God, if we had another hour and a half, I'd love to sort of expound on this. But let me say very simply, your friend Alex is correct. Take a drive through McCormick Ranch and see the landscaping and the setbacks and everything that's on Hayden Road that goes right through the heart of our community. Look at the quality of the parks. Look at the equity in the schools. Look at the aesthetics of the place. Look at the architecture. There's so many, the lighting, the things that make up this beautiful aesthetic that we have. South Scottsdale has incredible charm, but we are not building some of our infrastructure issues to the same standard as we do in the north. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of history behind that. And when we had a city that was focused on the part of town that I'm in right now down here, when we started growing and annexing all the way to Carefree, all our attention and a lot of our resources went that way, and we sort of turned our backs on South Scottsdale. Now is the time to refocus on that revitalization. Now we're going to start talking about infill, adaptive reuse, affordable housing, and we need to start creating more open space in our urban areas. We've got the preserve, thank God. It's the most amazing thing that we have in this city, along with the green belt. But we need to look for opportunities to create more open space too.
Yeah. Hey, we could go on forever.
And we could.
But we're not going to.
Why not?
We have time limits. People have to eat their dinner.
This is happy hour. You're not trying to get away from me, are you?
I have mustache envy. I'm not gonna lie. There's just so much time I could spend next to that handlebar.
All right.
You understand?
I
didn't want to have to say it out loud.
No,
Okay. There are other questions that are going to be in the feed, so I would say that you should go back through the Curlin for the House 23 Facebook page, answer those questions. Take your time, have yourself a glass of wine. I know you like a glass of wine,
I do.
and answer those questions. But also, people can get more information by going to John Little Scottsdale2020.com. Now, you have the name Little, but you have a big mustache. So I mustache you some questions here as part of my game. I try to do some game.
Oh, no. All right. Shoot.
And I'm going to say that for every one of these, I mustache you. Mustache. I got to be careful with how I say it. Okay. I'm going to give you some hints about famous people that have some really famous mustaches.
Okay.
This is not going to be easy, John.
No, nothing is easy with you, Eric.
Right. So I will start off with one that could be considered a cupcake.
Right.
Okay. He was one of these brothers. He was a comedy guy.
Smart.
You are smart. I didn't even get to tell you my favorite quote from this guy. Okay. My favorite quote, everybody. Put the camera on me, just me. Here we go. Groucho Marx would say, well, I'd never want to be a member of a club that would have me as a member. When he did get in the club. That was good. All right, never mind. Okay, now I'm going to have to go with one of the hard ones, all right?
Okay.
This guy, I don't know what you can call the mustache other than it was the thinnest upper lip adornment. He was a famous movie producer and director. He would make some of these crazy movies. Little thin, skinny guy.
Henry Chaplin?
No. John Waters.
Oh, that was a tough one. That was a very tough one. I know more about bushy mustache guys than thin pencil ones. So. Okay.
Let's go to the bushy mustache guy then. This guy starred on Magnum PI, used to wear a Detroit hat. Very good. Okay, this guy was a silent movie star, and it looked like his little feet were connected. Yeah. This isn't a race, John Little. You're not getting extra points for coming in before I even hit the buzzer. All right, I'm going to wait for me to sing the song. You are the champion. You are the champion. Who's the guy who fronted Queen?
I'm only going to give you the answer so that you'll stop singing. That would be Freddie Mercury.
Thank you. Stopping singing. Someone asked if I had to sing. No, I didn't. I wanted to. I'm an out-of-the-box kind of candidate. Okay. So this guy, he was a relief pitcher.
Raleigh Fingers.
What the heck? John, it's not a race.
Sorry.
All right, this is my last one. This is it.
All right.
This guy is probably synonymous with genius and creativity. In 1999, he was named the greatest person of the century in Time magazine.
That would be my father, I think. Either that, my father, or Albert Einstein.
Here, let me give you a hint. Remember that iconic picture?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what? Albert Einstein also, his most famous quote was, "The only path to wisdom is through experience."
Yeah, he's got a lot of famous quotes. I'm going to end this interview with my favorite quote that I think fits you to a T.
Right.
A man that is little in name but big in ideas. He says, "Hail to the man who went through life always helping others, knowing no fear, and to whom aggressiveness and resentment are alien." It'll leave you with that word of wisdom. John, I know that you're on the team of playing this thing straight, not attacking your opponents, keeping the dialogue above the rim. I thank you for that. Keep true to it, and good luck to you in the election, okay?
Can I say one thing about my opponents? Just one?
Yeah, because it's going to be something good.
It is. It's going to be, I'd like to just say thank you to all the people that are running for public office, the ones that had their volunteers out collecting signatures during one of the most difficult and dangerous times of our lives, certainly our political lives. And the fact that they all made it through and jumped through all the hoops and submitted their signatures and got on the ballot, I think is a testimony to everyone's hard work and their courage. And I just wanted to acknowledge all the efforts of not just the candidates, but all the people that were out there with their clipboards, handling pens and paper and meeting people. So I think that was we've already won something, Eric.
Yeah, well, I agree with that, and I think we have the opportunity to even win more by working together and making a more prosperous state and city, and the vertical articulation I've talked about. I'm looking forward to 2020.
Do you know if anybody's going to walk with me on Sunday morning on Flag Day at the Solari Bridge at 9:30 in the morning? We're going to take a little stroll, all the candidates, if they are able to just walk over to the Center for the Arts from there in unity and our support for justice and peace. And I'm hoping that anybody that might actually be listening that wants to walk with us, it's not an organized thing, it's not a campaign thing, it's just a walk with us thing. We're all citizens and we're all in this together.
Okay, we'll have Andy put it in the chat. What time and where?
We're going to meet at Sunday, June 14th.
The Solari Bridge?
The Solari Bridge, just south of PF Chang's, right on Scottsdale Road. And we'll gather there about 9:30, and we'll take about a 40-minute walk down to the Scottsdale Center for the Arts. And no campaign signs, no speeches, no photo ops, no nothing. Just let's be together. That's all.
All right. I'll join John and his merry band of pranksters there on 9:30. Thanks again, John, for coming on. Go through the feed, answer the questions that the people have, give the people what they want. Good luck on the trail. See you soon, my friend.